Okay, so feel free to drop questions in the chat. I'm going to try and get to them at the end. If not, I'm going to screenshot them and answer them in threads as I'm able to, okay? So first off, I'm Kylie. I am under Tamara, under Emily, under Kara Carrington. So that's my upline. And just a little background history here. I'm a longtime athlete, played college ball. I have my doctor of physical therapy. I've been a PT for going on 7 years now. And I have a 3.5-year-old boy, a 2-year-old boy, and I'm 7 months pregnant. So if I sound winded, I have a very valid reason. So don't judge. So I absolutely love to nerd out on the products. Just disclaimer, I am not planning to be a doctor here, not planning to be a pharmacist, but I just like to nerd out on products. I love learning the ins and outs and why they work. And I kind of tend to troubleshoot a lot of things for a lot of people. So I figured this would be helpful for you guys just to kind of have on hand and revamp and listen in and learn. So super stoked to have y'all here. So I'm just going to jump right in, and feel free to take notes, ask questions. Like I said in the chat, if I see them coming through, I'm going to answer as I go. But if there's a million of them, I'm going to really try my hardest. So I'm just going to start off with triplex, because obviously that's literally the foundation of the entire piece of plexus. Besides the fact that they started with the breast check kit, a lot of people don't even know that. This company is just founded on a lot of things that have really strong values. So the breast check kit was actually the first thing. It increases sensitivity to your fingertips, so you can do your self checks. Same thing with their second product was the breast cream. And that was actually created for radiation burns from breast cancer. But obviously men can have breast cancer too. So they renamed it body cream, which was way more helpful for everybody. But it's really helpful for burns of any kind, any bug bites, any type of like irritation or itchiness on the skin. That would be a really good thing to use body cream for. So then jumping into triplex, that's why they created it from an endocrinologist, was to balance the blood sugars. We all know that. But they just found a ton of benefits once they did that was linked to gut health. And so you've got 2 different types of slim, which they reformulated probably about 3 years ago now. It was in, I think, 2018. And I'm glad they did, because I've seen results from a lot of people that had tried it before, they didn't see results, and then they came back and they had great results. Granted, that doesn't mean that I know their consistency and all that stuff beforehand. So just speaking specifically to the pink drink here. The difference between the two is that they both balance blood sugars. However, this one has polydextrose in it, the hunger control. It helps you to stay fuller longer. And so if there's anything besides somebody who is basically underweight, if they're underweight, like they could eat like a horse and not gain a pound, I don't put them on this. If my kiddos are drinking my pink drink, I don't usually have them drink this one either. This one's definitely more for most of the population that's just heavier than their regular blood sugar balance. And so that's one thing. Now, people with autoimmune, because there's obviously a thread that goes around talking about which one for autoimmune. Honestly, I've seen it both ways. So it really just depends. Try one. If it really gives them a flare up, try the other one, but don't just credit it on the post that talks about which one to use, because I've seen it literally one flares up and the other one doesn't. So maybe use the sample and try the other kind and go that route before you swap it. This one has the prebiotic in it that feeds the probiotic. I kind of tend to find most people detox harder off of this one. That's why usually if I can get away with it, I have everyone start on hunger control first. Unless, like I said, if gut health is the main thing, they don't really have any weight to lose or anything like that, then I would stick them on this one. But I always let them know that because it has that prebiotic, when it feeds the probiotic, it kind of tends to kick out the bad roommates a lot faster. And so they usually don't really like that. And so that's the one thing to keep in mind there. Now, I typically never recommend that people just do the slim, because I've seen a lot of people actually detox right off the slim. And so when you think about the triplex as a whole, ProBio 5, this one is like the bouncer that goes in and kills all the bad guys. he takes out all, like he kills the toxins and puts in good gut bacteria, but he's not flushing it. And so that's why BioCleanse is important, is because the only people I've seen that have issues with this significantly is those that have like IBS diarrhea, that they just really have a struggle with already going to the bathroom a lot. And so I have them initially get the triplex and just completely forewarn them, like this may be the one bottle they ever have of BioCleanse if they have IBS diarrhea. And so we keep this on a back burner for them. Everybody else though, the biggest thing is that once you kill the bad guys, you actually have to get them out. And so you think of it as like flossing your teeth. This one goes in and gets all the nitty gritty pieces that have died, and it pulls them into the GI system and flushes. Now, that's why water intake is so important. And remember, when you ask things generalized, you're going to get a general answer. So you don't say, so are you drinking half your body weight in ounces? I specifically ask them, how much do you weigh? And if they say 200 pounds, I say, you need to drink 100 ounces plus an additional 20. Because when your body's detoxing, the bare minimum is half your body weight. You're not going to have enough to flush. So you think of it kind of like the toilet that it's just kind of coming into sludge and it's not flushing. And so that's why it just sits there. And then they feel bloated. They don't feel like, they just feel gross. And so you want them to flush the system and actually get it to work. And so these are the things that like, I tend to not follow the bottle's guidelines for a lot of reasons on BioCleanse, but with BioCleanse, if you remember that the goal of every person is 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. 2 is like a sweet spot, but 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. If it's not watery and they don't have to rush to the bathroom, you're in a good place. Don't worry about consistency, especially the first 90 days. Like for instance, when you, like for me, I had more of a dumping phase, but I was regular on 2 to 3 times a day. I didn't have to rush to get there, but I knew my body was full of junk. And so it just had to get out. And then by month 3 and 4, it went to perfect consistency. So like the Bristol stool chart, it's BRISTOL, Bristol stool chart. You want it to be around a number 4. And so it's supposed to be, best way I've ever heard it explained, it should fit inside your index finger and your thumb, and it should be the length from your wrist to your elbow. And it's very true. So if you are straining, you need more and more water intake. If you're not, like if it's too watery, that's when you can adjust. But time of day and amounts you take, you can totally adjust that based on the person and what they need. And so, so as far as those that are sensitive to the BioCleanse, I know a couple people with IBS diarrhea that like literally they've tried it a few different times where they could do like a half a capsule and introduce it that way later on. If someone is detoxing from something, you could always try to reintroduce, but just open up the capsule and stick it into just a little bit of something. But I would try it that way. If it just doesn't sit well with them, then I really wouldn't push it if that's where they're at. But everybody else that's not on that scale, that's really where they're at. So that's those two. And you can adjust it based on what you're going through. Like when my body detoxed, I was on 4 a day. I did 2 in the morning, 2 at night. And then about month 6, I needed about maybe 2 to 3 a day instead. When I got pregnant, pregnancy and hormones, you tend to be constipated. So I tend to take more while I'm pregnant. And so you can adjust it. Just because you start with something doesn't mean your regimen stays consistent throughout the whole process. And you detox in rings. It's just because you've been on it for 7 years doesn't mean you're not going to have detox. You've had different foods, you've had different toxin exposures in the system, all those kinds of things. So just remember that, like, if you know you're going through a detox, you can increase ProBio 5. I'll increase BioCleanse only if I am not going 2 to 3 times a day. But ProBio 5 you can totally do. Okay, next one, because BioCleanse we could talk about all night. Ease. This is a game changer for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you have, like, whether you feel like you need it for pain relief or anything. Inflammation is the body's response to detox. That's the yeast overgrowth is where the candida is there. Candida creates this inflammation response. So when you look at the yeast overgrowth posts of all the stages of yeast overgrowth, that's an inflammatory response, hence ease, okay? So when you're doing that, the biggest things to know is, one, you always have to ask if someone's allergic to mussels. Mussels and oysters are in their own seafood category versus shellfish. And the other thing I'll tell you is I actually have someone that's allergic to to mussels that can still take it, because the only thing that's the issue is like itchiness or hives in the throat from ingesting. And so this, because it's encapsulated, does just fine because it goes straight down. Anybody that is EpiPen worthy of anything, I do not try this without them having taking it to like an allergist or something. I'm not about to be responsible for that. It helps with blood pressure, because again, blood pressure is an inflammatory response. So my blood pressure has been amazing with this pregnancy. I also haven't had the 8 million chins with my pregnancy either. It's been amazing. And same thing with if someone's on a lot of pain medications. And again, don't play pharmacist over here. Usually what I'll ask is, if you're taking anything or whatever you are taking, what are you taking it for? Don't ask what it is, ask what you're taking it for, because you know blood pressure, constipation, sleep, anxiety, focus, like all those things. You want to keep it from those kinds of words, so that you're not playing pharmacist, because I don't expect you to know it and nobody else does either. And so that's the biggest thing with that. But if people are on a lot of pain medications, I've been able to help people get off of pain meds with like triplex and ease, or triplex, ease, and nerve, loading dose those. And I tend to not, like, they got to be in a lot of medical complexity there if you're doing like the loading dose of 6 a day. I'll usually do 4, just because I understand the cost. And I also understand that like triplex is so important on getting to the root of the issue that's causing the inflammation response. So that is a must. And then you add your ease. So there's that. Next couple, we've got Mega X. So Mega X is helpful because it's the plant-based omegas. And what is cool about this one is that it helps with like brain development, heart development, cholesterol, blood pressure, helps with sleep. And so the 2 sleep ones are usually ProBio 5 and Mega X. Usually people can improve sleep with ProBio 5 when you just increase it. So if they're complaining of fatigue right off the bat, usually they're on too low of a dose of ProBio 5. So I'll increase it by 1, and usually that's a game changer already. But this one is like you're dead to the world, probably drooling on your pillow. Like you won't wake up from this one. And so it's nice for that, but it's also super helpful for pregnancy and things like that, because I know that it's also feeding my baby really good omegas. So that's super helpful as well, especially if people complain about a fishy taste. This one doesn't have any fish stuff in it. So there's that. X Factor Plus. I use X Factor Plus. I wasn't even around when X Factor showed up, so that's number 1. But the difference I will tell you between the 2 is X Factor Plus has black currant in it, which is a natural iron source. So when people ask, like, does it have iron? Technically, it does not list it, but it has black currant, which is a natural iron source. So if people are really touchy with iron, then you might want to try the X Factor. But if they need iron, like they're anemic, you'll want to do X Factor Plus. The biggest thing with this one is that this is always why I explain why Plexus works. Plexus works because they're bioavailable, they're fully methylated, we all know this, but they're readily accessible. And when you add all those vitamins in here, plus the fact that it has aloe, that nutrient absorption is insane. I literally call it like the powerhouse multivitamin. I've never met one other than this. There's a reason why I never liked taking other multivitamins, because they were pointless. This one actually works. And the other thing too is that because it's such a powerhouse, some people may have some nauseousness with it because it's so powerful. And so you want to take it with food if possible to increase that like nutrient absorption. But for me, I actually do better if I take it at night. Now, if you're super touchy to vitamin B, don't take it at night because it will give you energy. So I'm the one that can drink coffee and go to bed and do just fine. So be very clear about asking that question if they're super touchy with it. But I had a sore throat from talking too much, which go figure if you know me. and I took it before bed one night. I woke up and my sore throat was gone. So I will stand behind it 100%. My dad had sinusitis issues, and he normally would have 3 or 4 bouts a year for about 3 or 4 weeks and be on the same antibiotic regimen. He had one bout of it this last year, and it was mild, and it was 1 week. And so I will live by that, especially with allergy issues. And then let's go to Vital Biome. So Vital Biome is obviously the one that we know for mood. There is the combo, if you're not familiar with it, of the Vital Biome X Factor Plus and the slim, but microbiome activating. That's called the Feel Good combo. They kind of sloganed it that way. And it really is, if people, oh, thanks, Chris. It really is, if someone's main goal is that they literally cannot function because their mood is their main issue, I would highly suggest doing this one first, that Feel Good combo. Now, I always let them know that regardless of if that's the key or not, we will at some point do triplex, because I want them to actually fully feel better and not put a Band-Aid on something. And it's not that they're quite putting a Band-Aid, but the ProBio 5 and the BioCleanse are exactly why you get rid of the stuff that's prohibiting like the serotonin from being accessible in the gut. So remember the 70% immune system, 80% and 90% on serotonin, melatonin, sleep, mood, all that. That's why you need it. So Vital Biome has been helpful for people that, anyone who's been living in the last year, that would be it. Or the fact that if it was just stress from a job, any anxiety, postpartum, PTSD, I've been super blessed to be able to help some people that were actually war veterans with that. And that has been amazing. Just such a huge blessing there. So now with Vital Biome, I will just tell you, everyone has different schedules that work best for them and their body. Vital Biome, I know a lot of people that use it in the morning. I don't use it in the morning. It actually made me more anxious. But if I used it at night, I was way more stable, I guess I would say, way more balanced in my mood than if I did it in the morning. So you just find a time that works best for you and just tweak it and see if you like it one way or the other. Okay, Nerve. I do not have the bottle and I don't have the MetaBurner Balance, but I'm going to talk about those. Okay, Nerve and Ease, we could talk all day about this. And if you want to talk on the side, Nerve is my jam. When in doubt, if you want to start doing your own research, here's how I will tell you to do it. You need to go on to Google Scholar. You don't have to understand how to read research articles, I promise you. Go to Google Scholar, pick out a ingredient in any product. So Q-Certain is one that's in Nerve. You put Q-Certain and Nerve and then search and watch the links come up of all the articles that show up, and literally just read an abstract and conclusion. It will tell you what they tested, what they found, and so on. And so the biggest thing with Nerve is that it was created for diabetic neuropathy for nerve pain. So, because that's very common with diabetics. And so with Nerve, I wanted to really see if there was nerve regeneration. And my dad also has a 24-year-long back injury. He herniated his disc centrally. And I didn't even know this. Again, this is why we share. You just don't even know the people in your own household, what they're struggling with. I had no idea he didn't have any sensation from his knees down, with the exception of his big toe. That was tingling. That was it. He also has bilateral foot drop, so his feet slap when he walks. He's in what are called ankle foot orthotics. And so they look like shin guard braces with feet plates in it. And so they help him to lift his feet and not trip. They also help with balance. So in the last year and a half, he's gone from that to literally having full feeling in both legs, literally from the knee down, and deep sensation in both feet, which his right was more affected than the left, the way that it herniated in centrally. And he actually is able to actively dorsiflex his foot, which is insane. And when you know that, it's like God-given miracle, because actually lift his foot up himself. And so the biggest things to know is that nerve regeneration is like 1 inch a month. That's a normal nerve growth. His was from a size 13 foot to his knee in a year. So way more than 12 inches. So the fact that that's like super insane is crazy. But it also, again, thanks Janice about that, on the vascular issues. So there is one of the, I can't remember which ingredient in Nerve, but one of the ingredients was specifically tested versus compression stockings on neurovascular recovery, so blood flow back to the heart. So if there was issues with pitting and edema in the legs, it actually helps to get, like, it helps the nerves to work, so the muscles will work and pump the blood back up the legs. So that's super nerdy. Really don't expect you guys to know that either. So, but just think of it this way. The body has the bones, the nerves are the electrical outlet, and they're plugged into muscles. And then the blood flow is what gives it the oxygen to move. So the nerves have to turn on in order for the muscles to move. And the blood has to have the oxygen flow, which, hello, active, has to have oxygen flow in order to create good blood flow and nutrients to the body. That's how it stays strong. It builds through and it works efficiently. So then comes, yeah, thanks, Jordan. Then comes the super nerdy. I love active. Everybody and their mother should be on active. I don't even care if you took a pre-workout or not. I will tell you this until I die. So active right here, it's listed as a plant-based energy drink. That's literally the last thing I use it for. I mean, I use it now because I'm pregnant for mental clarity and energy. But if you don't know anything about active, get to know it, because it increases that nitric oxide production, which we all know how to say that. But what does that even mean? It increases blood flow to the entire body, every body's organ. Lungs, guys, are muscles. So they need oxygen too. They need blood flow. So when you're thinking of somebody who struggles with breathing issues, whether it's been in the last year on recovery from something, or it's been a long-standing thing that they need nebulizers for, they need oxygen for, they need an inhaler for, any of those things, active is amazing for that because it gives the blood flow for solid exchange. So if they have like tight chest or they have shortness of breath, this actually would seriously help them. Same thing with muscle recovery. Like muscle recovery is amazing, but again, the mental clarity is on point because you get more oxygen to your brain. That makes more sense too. And so you can really just see active on 11 and 13-year-old, I'd half the dose. I didn't see who said that. Let's see, Christina. But so yeah, so, and even like if people have trouble focusing, you can use that too. Like I have some kids that use it. Now I don't do like an entire stick. Again, it's just kind of like how you like half the triplex and stuff. You can do the same thing for little kiddos. I wouldn't necessarily go crazy unless they're already drinking soda or something, then you already know that's a thing. But the only time I ever have to worry about caffeine with somebody is if they are on heart meds. I always want to make sure that, like, I always ask them typically, are you drinking something that's caffeinated already? Okay, switch it out. And then I know that they're okay. But if they're on like hardcore cardiac meds, I would want to make sure that it's okay. So, okay, what else? You mentioned something here. Let's see. X Factor kids. And oh, I'm going to talk about triplex here real quick with kiddos. My youngest son, he was 3 months. And again, this is another avenue that I talk about. I talk poop all the time, guys. But the BioCleanse and ProBio 5, kids that are chronically constipated. And when I say kids, my son was 3 months old and he was constipated from week 3 because he outate my supply. So I literally am notorious for opening up my ProBio 5 and BioCleanse. I put about half a capsule into their last drink of the night, and both my kids take that religiously along with their X Factor Kids vitamin. They absolutely don't care for the microbiome drink, and I honestly don't care because they drink my Slim, so I'm okay with that. But if you're looking more for breast milk benefits, which are obviously, that's why they call it liquid gold, so I get it, but when you're looking for those benefits, I would rather have them have, like, I already know they're getting everything else. They're getting the multivitamin, they're getting the probiotics. So I'm not going to complain about them not liking the taste of the microbiome. And yes, I have totally messed with it on a lot of different ways. But yeah, so constipation, focus, sleep for kids. I would try half the Probio 5 first, see how they detox. My 3-month-old had a yeast infection the very next day after I gave him that, but that was the first time he had pooped in 3 months by himself, and we tried everything. And then I went back to mom mode, go to the pediatrician, get the yeast infection cream. I did that religiously because the pediatrician said so for 4 days, 3 times a day. It didn't even touch it. So I went back to plexus mode and I added a third to like half of BioCleanse. The very next day it was gone. So know that they detox in their itty bitty bodies because they have your gut microbiome. So Chandler, I said start with Probio 5 and then add BioCleanse. Yes, good for you, Dora. Go for it. And so X Factor Kids, the multivitamin, my kids absolutely love it. They think it's candy. And while it has a probiotic in it, if constipation is the issue, it's probably going to take a very long time. And we don't have time to move that slow when it's kids that are constipated. They have little bitty bodies. They're supposed to poop daily. So that's why I always implement Probio 5 and I have BioCleanse handy. So usually you can pair that with people of having the parent be on triplex and the kid be on the X Factor Kids, and they can have what they've got. They know what they're feeling and everybody's happy. So that's something to know. It does, I've seen kids with X Factor Kids do well with eczema and skin issues as well with their kid stuff. But my kid was too young. He couldn't even start with that. He was 3 months old. Collagen. Let's talk collagen. While it has the types 1 and 3 on the collagen and type 2 is supposed to be for joints, I will tell you, my husband's religious with our collagen, and it's because of knee pain. He no longer has knee pain and he uses our collagen. He doesn't even use Ease. So the biggest thing I'll tell you the difference is that if the issue with the joint is that it's like pressure or pain that way, like super achy, that kind of stuff, usually it's an inflammatory issue. That's where I would go with Triplex Ease. If it's like my husband, where it sounds like a stair step of cracking as it goes up, which is terrifying, I would use the collagen because it's more of that. Even if it's not necessarily full bone rebuilding, which it does help with that. The skin elasticity, when we're talking about that overlay of the body again, it goes bones, muscles, tendons, ligaments, all those things, and then skin. When the skin tightens, everything's supported around the joint. And so it at least helps with the support. So you're not having to do like knee brace and all these other things. So also know that it does help with stretch marks. I've seen it myself and encourage people to take pictures because had I known, I would have done the same. The Joyum serums. I will tell you, I haven't done the nerdy, gotten into the nitty gritty of each of these, but what I will tell you is that the whole purpose was that it was getting to the skin microbiome versus putting a Band-Aid on something. And I will tell you, if my kids get sunburnt, I put the nighttime serum on it because I know it's more powerful than the daytime, and their skin or their sunburn's gone the next morning. So I'll do that on their face and I'll do the body cream on like bigger surface areas. And then MetaBurn Balance. Let's talk, we gotta hurry too, because I really wanna be respectful of your time. Balance was the new block. It blocks half the carbs, balances blood sugars. However, block with MetaBurn block with MetaBurn and X Factor Plus is that like trifecta for thyroid. Now, sometimes people with block, and one of my sideline sisters, Lisa, actually shared this with me. Block versus balance. Block has it's like black seaweed in it, and sometimes it doesn't sit well with people. Like they might get a little nauseous or something like that. So that's when I would go with balance. But typically, if weight management is a struggle or a goal for them, you can use it before like your biggest meal, or you can even use it right before bed, because remember, when food sits on your belly, it's just all kind of clumping together. It's going to stay overnight. So whatever's there, it's going there. So you could do balance at night, and it would help to balance your blood sugars so you're not just laying with all this stuff on your body to try and digest. And so then Metaburn, the biggest things with Metaburn, it has that 5-HTP in it, which we know, like, it is a neurotransmitter. It does transfer to baby if you're pregnant or nursing. However, I had specifically spoke with one of the diamonds who's a pharmacist, and she had kind of shared, you know, obviously weigh out the benefits versus the risk. If mental health is an issue and it's either Metaburn or an antidepressant, I'd pick Metaburn, to be honest, because of less adverse effects. Now, am I personally taking it? No, I'm not. But I also am not struggling with that. So, you know, so kind of, you know your body and you know what you want to do. So I would do it that way. Immune Plus is kind of the same lines. Immune is kind of like the version of emergency. Like if you were starting to get sick and you wanted to have something else, like increase the vitamin C and the boost there, that was when I would use that. However, the mushroom that's in it, that's one that is also questionable for pregnancy. And so that is the only reason why I don't take it. And plus my gut health, and like, I haven't been struggling or sick since I've been taking my Triplex and my X Factor Plus. Like I take literally almost everything else because I love it. And so I don't usually have it on hand anyways, because I didn't need it. But it's definitely a really good helper for those that are like super immunocompromised. And then definitely drop in the chat if I'm missing things. But, and then I think last but not least is, hydrate. We got to talk about that guy. But lean. The lean is so nice because it also has folate in it, which we know that is also an X Factor Plus. So if someone is low on folate and their doctor is saying they need more folic acid, they can do a lean and increase their folate. So that's another option. But the other thing that's nice is just the fact that it's methylated as well. So it's easier usually for tummies. It does have a probiotic in it. And so when, if someone has more like loose stools when they're using it, maybe back off the BioCleanse amount, you know, like you can tailor it that way too and see how they do. I've only heard that a couple of times. And then hydrate. Hydrate, as far as what's in it, I'm going to continue to still look at it because I just, being pregnant with 2 kids, I haven't had time to look at it much. But what I will tell you as far as the ingredients of this versus other things, Liquid IV had a ton of sugar. Pedialyte actually almost had double the amount of sugar as Liquid IV, unfortunately. So if you're not surprised by that, that was scary with kids here. And same thing with Pediasure with just the amount of sugar intake in kids stuff. So if you're not aware of that, or you have like friends with little ones, that's something to be aware of. Or if you're grandparent babysitting, my kids love this. This is their blue drink. And so they drink it just fine, and they do just fine. I will say it's also not uncommon to notice that people urinate a little bit more when they're on either the Hydrate or the Slim, just because of your body trying to like get all the good nutrients in and stuff. And so some people tend to have more like, you know, just more bathroom visits to go pee. So if there's anything I missed, I'm sorry, but that's what I got. And I want to be respectful of your time. So if you have questions, feel free to just friend me and send me a message, and I'd be more than happy to answer, and you guys can tell your teams. But thanks for this time, and I hope that it was helpful. And I'm going to try and not mess up the recording so you guys can share it. So you guys have a good night, and we will catch up soon. Bye.